Hello, how are you doing today, YouTube? This is your girl, Fish Grease, KD, whatever you want to call me. And today we're going to talk about the obstinate woman versus the submissive woman, and how things are so out of place now. And this is why, ladies, you can't get the men that you want, and you can't get them to treat you how you want them to treat you. And this was inspired by the Will and Jada snippet of their interview that they were doing, where Will tells the story of how Jada disrespected him in front of a group of people by cursing at him. And his immediate reaction to that was to take a newspaper and bop her over the head with it. And then he pulled her to the side and they had a conversation where he laid down the ground rules on how he expected to be treated and talked to. And basically told her that if you're going to curse and if you're going to disrespect, there's no reason for us to be together. And he said that her initial response was, well, you're not going to be hitting me over the head with an MF and newspaper, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, you know what? Get out. Out. We're done. And he said, she was like, wait a minute, you're going to break up with me? He was like, yeah, I just did. And then he said her second response was to cry and to submit to the terms that he previously stated. And apparently that worked because they are still married. Now, I have shared many times my own story. I told y'all before about me hitting my husband. He was picking with me. I started crying. I hit him in the arm to try to make him stop. And his immediate response was to hit me back. And he had a similar conversation afterwards that we're not going to do that. We are not going to hit each other. And we're not going to abuse each other in this relationship. If you don't want me to hit you, then you will not hit me. And that was the end of that. I never did it again. And having had my own similar experience than Jada had, I know exactly what was going through her mind. The very fact that you could be hit by your man in any capacity. And that newspaper, actually, if we're keeping it 100, that was actually Islamic, what he did. Because, and it's also the last straw of commanding respect and commanding certain things in your relationship if you are the man. And this is between husbands and wives. And the hit, the so-called hit, isn't even supposed to hurt. It isn't supposed to bruise. It's not supposed to physically harm her. It's not even meant to do that. It's meant to be so shocking that it would basically correct her. She would basically fall in line and be like, wait a minute, I don't like that. I don't even like the possibility of that at all. And that was my thought as well. I didn't like that. Even though I felt that he shouldn't have been picking with me in the first place, it was still an inappropriate response on my part to hit him. And his response to that was actually appropriate. Now, his hurt. He didn't bruise me, but it hurt. And so I was actually kind of crying because of that, because it kind of hurt. But the reality is that was what went through my mind. And even though I was crying at the time, I heard him loud and clear. And I understood that he was correct. If I didn't want him to hit me, then I was not to hit him. And that was only fair. Now, later on in that day, we had another conversation about it, and he was like, I don't like that you hit me, but I understand why you did that, because I pick with you until you are reduced to tears. And I do that often. I will say whatever comes to mind to get you in such an upset state where you will cry, because I know you will cry. And I didn't anticipate that you would fight. I just thought you would cry. And when you hit me, I realized that you would fight. You would actually get angry enough at me to hit me, which is why I nipped it in the bud, because we're not going to hit each other. He said, but I will try to curve my antagonistic approaches to you, because I'm poking fun at you because I want to. You're not doing anything to me to get that. I'm poking with you because I can. But I don't think that that's proper for me to reduce my wife to tears because I am saying hurtful things to her to get a reaction out of her. Because he did that often in the beginning of our marriage. Because like I told you, my husband was just an antagonistic type of person. He was gonna do that. That wasn't even really reserved just for me. He did that with a lot of people. And he finally sort of came to the conclusion, with a little help from a mentor, that asked him the simple question, why do you want to make your wife cry? And when he didn't have a reasonable answer for that, he tried to stop doing that. Because I was easily reduced to tears through any sort of teasing, any sort of what I considered to be verbal abuse, calling me names, just picking with me. Everything that I did was wrong. Everything that I did was a problem of somehow. So I was easily, especially at that time, I was easily reduced to tears. And him especially so, because I loved him and I wanted to please him, and I did not want him to dislike me or not love me. And so I'm saying all of that because Jada, this is Jada Pinkett we're talking about. She's beautiful. And she's well known. She's a celebrity. How many men would have simped up behind her? How many men still want to simp up behind her? She could have dumped him and left. She wouldn't have been without a man. She wouldn't have been without a man 2 hot seconds. You hear me? Even now, she wouldn't be without a man that long. She would get a man. Because even though she got kids and stuff like that, was married before, and she's not as young as she was before, she still kept herself up. She's still pretty. So it'd be plenty of simps waiting in line to pander up after her. So she would have lost Will, but she would not have been without a dude on her arm at some point. But I'm going to tell you as a woman what went through her mind. I can respect him. She knew there are a lot of simps, but they're simps. And women don't actually like simps. Women use simps, but we don't actually like them because they don't put their foot down, and they don't stand their ground with you. They are too relenting on things that they should not relent on, and they will allow you to disrespect them. And a real man, and I hate using that term, but he won't allow it. He will not allow it. And he will leave you if you cannot be corralled. If you can't get on the program, get on the good foot, he will leave you in the dust. And he will not be without a woman very long. And so what went through her mind, it was, I can tell you that, and I bet you dollars to donuts if you asked her, because I didn't see the conclusion of that or whether or not she said anything behind it. But she was like, I know she was thinking, I can respect him and I don't want to lose him because he's not simping up after me. He's not. He's willing to let me go. And he's not willing to let me go just over any frivolous thing. This is something that means something to him. And you know what? I was wrong for doing that. I should not have done that. Probably shouldn't have told him to shut the fuck up in front of a bunch of people. It's disrespectful. And just the way she was looking at him when he was telling that story, she wasn't embarrassed. She wasn't like, oh my God, or rolling her eyes, or oh, he's gonna tell that story. No, she wasn't embarrassed for the same reason that I'm not embarrassed to tell that story about I hit my husband and he hit me in return. It's not embarrassing because I don't have that obstinate spirit. I'm not ashamed to have submitted to my husband. I'm not ashamed of that. And apparently she is not ashamed to have submitted to her husband. He had terms and they were not unreasonable terms, simply wanted to be respected. And that's anyone. That's anyone. And a good woman will submit. She will. Her outbursts didn't make her a bad woman. It made it where he needed to check the behavior. And by her going ahead and just, that same night, because how many of you would have made an even bigger scene than what she did? She had the conversation with him. And even though she's like, I don't want you to hit me with a newspaper, she still submitted at the end of that because it was like, you know what? This could mean the end of my relationship, which I want to have, over something stupid that I did, because he wouldn't have hit me with the newspaper if I hadn't disrespected him first. So ultimately, I would be losing a good man over something stupid that I did. And there is nothing worse, or there are few things that are worse than losing your man over something stupid that you did. I'm telling you guys, as being a widow, I much prefer being a widow. As hurtful as this has been, and as much as I miss my husband, I would have been so disgraced to have been divorced from him. That would have disgraced me. I would have been I can't even explain to you the place that I would have been in had I simply not been married because I couldn't hold on to my husband. And for good women, that's such a disgrace to your husband left you. Why? Oh, it was probably some stupid thing that you did or you kept doing, and you wouldn't correct it, you wouldn't stop, and he got tired and he left you. That I would have been so ashamed, literally just speechless. I much prefer to be a widow, even though if I had my way, I would still have my husband with me. But if we have to part, I'd much rather death do us part, because at least that was the way that our contract was to be terminated. I would have been so ashamed to tell people, oh, I'm divorced. You're what? And you're never going to be at fault because you're so guilty. You're never going to be at fault. So you'll find some reason why it was his fault when really it was you. And so that is actually what I wanted to talk about. Not only his reaction to her, but her reaction to him when she realized he's serious. You're not playing with her. You can go. And it probably would have hurt him. But my standard has to be respected. And that actually works both ways. It works for women too. If you have a standard of respect and he is just running roughshod all over it, and you're in a relationship doing what a woman should do, and he's just running roughshod, you should leave him. Because if he can't react properly to a woman that's doing what she should be doing in the relationship with him, he's not ever gonna react properly, and you should leave. And because no one wants to be disrespected. This is why she had to react. Well, I don't want you to hit me with a newspaper, because it was just as demeaning and degrading and disrespectful to her as she had been to him. He did something that would equally embarrass her because she embarrassed him. And I find turnabout to be fair play. So, ladies, this is what I want to talk about, because she was able to, with her status as a celebrity, an actress, a beautiful woman, just a beautiful woman, she found it within herself, even knowing that next week she could have a man on her arm. Just as wealthy, if not more so, than Will. Just as desirable, if not more so, than Will. And Will is a very handsome man. He seems like a good guy, you know? Not to mention his celebrity from way back when he was a teenager. She could have had somebody else, but would that someone else have been of the caliber of man that Will was? Because let's face it, ladies, you like it when your man kind of G-check you, don't you? Be real. Don't you? And when I say G-check, you know, I don't mean being beat on, because what Will did, that was not a beating. That does not qualify as domestic abuse at all. That does not qualify as that. He did not physically harm her. She was not bruised. She was not hurt. Her ego and pride was wounded. That's all that happened to her. But she had wounded his ego and his pride and had emasculated him in front of people. So that was pretty much equal. I feel like one was just verbal and the other one was physical. Same difference. It was literally the same difference. And she found it within herself to submit to her husband. And apparently from what they said, that his terms were the terms set, agreed to, and done. Okay, and done. And as we can see, they are still married. But what would have happened if she had been obstinate? If she had kept it up and said, well, you don't, fuck you. Yeah, I'll leave and blah, 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 blah. And then to take his money and whatever vindictive thing that she could have done. Then she would have lost out on a good man. And some other woman who was willing to submit to those terms would have had a good, handsome, wealthy, for all intents and purposes, he looks kind of like an awesome dude. Some other woman would have been enjoying that, not her. And she would have felt so stupid. I guarantee she would have felt stupid. She would have put on a brave face in front of people, but behind closed doors, she would have been so stupid. Felt like just a pile of dog crap, old, dried out dog crap too. I know that's how she would have felt. But ladies, we like that. We like it when, even when you don't have not intended to shit test your dude, you just step on his toes and you don't know that you stepped on him. You do something that you're not expecting him to react a certain way on. And he reacts. And it's like, whoa, you don't do that. That's not what we do. If you want to keep me, you're not going to do that again. are you? And the first thing that wells up in us, because we are American women who were reared and raised and socialized under feminism, the first thing that comes to our mind is to buck that, say something against that. I don't have to, no, I'll do it again. That kind of thing. But also, ladies, let's be real for a moment. That submissiveness, and I know you hate that word, but I'm going to use it. That submissiveness under a male's authority is actually in our nature. That is in our nature. Feminism and the way that it socializes us is actually against our natures. But our nature is that submissive role, which is why when a man asserts his authority, the first thing that comes out is that socialization, because that is a programming. And so you're programmed to react a certain way. But that next thing that pops into your head is to submit. That's the next thing. Immediately after, the next thing that comes after that program response is, I should probably do this. This would be in my best interest to do. Because that is our nature. Whether you want to admit that, believe it, or what have you, we have evolved into that because it has served us well. It is in our best interest to submit to the male because he is the one who is providing and maintaining, which is the sole reason why you would be submissive anyways, is because that's what he's doing. And I know that this goes against everything you learn and everything you're told and everything your mama said and everything that your girlfriends say and your single, broke, manless friends. And a lot of times, ladies, we get duped out of our relationship by those very women who claim that they have our best interests at heart. These women, our mothers, our sisters, our friends, all of that will tell us, they'll repeat the programming to us. Girl, you don't got to take that. And he don't say that to you. And why would he do that to you? And why, And a lot of times they are saying things that reaffirms the programming, but in your gut, in your heart of hearts, it's wrong. And you battle with it. You battle with it. And you will be like, I probably shouldn't listen to them, because if I do the opposite thing, that will actually bring peace to my home and bring peace to my man. And I will have a good relationship. But you allow the programming that you have suffered under and the reaffirmation of that programming from the women in your group to persuade you, and it's not very difficult to do that, to persuade you into acting upon the programming, which only destroys your relationship. And a lot of times you will run off a man who actually loved you and actually would have been a good man to you, but he could not withstand that programming and he didn't want to. And this actually kind of brings me to the other thing that I wanted to talk about, which was, that is one of the things that feminism and this type of socialization has instilled in us as women, the fear of being submissive. What do you fear? You fear that if you submit, that a man will automatically mistreat you. That he's looking for a woman that is a doormat, because you equate submission with just being spineless and brainless. That he's looking for a woman who he can just walk over and he can just do anything. He can mistreat her any kind of way. He can beat her. He can smack her. He can kick her. He can disrespect her. He can lie. He can cheat. He can do whatever comes to his mind. And she had better not say a mumbling word, because she's supposed to be submitting, and submitting equals slavery and childlike behavior to you. And feminism has made that connection without necessarily saying it all the time. It has made the connection for you that submission on the part of the woman to her husband equals entering herself under voluntary servitude or slavery under her husband, and that it will inspire a man to treat her badly and with disrespect. I am here to tell you that that is patently untrue. The reality, which is difficult for you to accept because you've been programmed against it, and so you don't understand how it could be so, is that your power in a relationship is in your submission within it. That is where your power is. Because if once you fulfill and settle into your role, most men, the vast majority of men, are inspired to treat such a woman with high respect and esteem. He becomes gentler, he becomes softer, he becomes yielding to her. He accommodates her. He loves her. He starts cherishing her. He trusts her. Okay? That is the reaction. Only a few. If you run into a man and you're married to him and you're submitting, you're doing what you're supposed to do, and he really is just taking it for granted. He is walking over you. You should probably leave that guy, because he doesn't know how to act. He's outside of his role. He doesn't know how to act. He's probably not doing what he's supposed to do as a man, because he doesn't know. He is not even recognizing that you're doing what you're supposed to do as a woman, and he's not reacting properly to that. And the reason why your power is in your submission, and that most men, I would say in a high 95%, probably more, of men would treat you with respect. And as a woman, he's not going to treat you like a child. And that is what you fear, that you'll be treated like a kid, like you're his kid. And you won't be. You'll be treated like his wife, and he'll have a lot of respect. And he doesn't have respect for you now because you're acting outside of your role. The same way that you don't have respect for him when he acts outside of his role. You do not respect him if he's the house husband and he doesn't work and he doesn't bring the money in, and he's not really kind of paying to be the cost to be the boss, and he's not. So you don't give him respect when he isn't doing those things, and when he's not maintaining and protecting and doing those things. You don't give him any respect. You might pretend like you're doing it, but really the reality is you're not respecting him, and you will disrespect him at any given time whenever you feel the desire. And you're doing that disrespect. You're not giving him the proper, level, because he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's acting outside of the role of a husband and as a man. But when he is acting within that role, and he is acting within the, the construct of manhood and all of that, then you really kind of have no choice but to respect him, because he's earning it. Because he's doing what men do. So it actually works the same way. Him doing what men do doesn't cause you to disrespect him. If you are disrespecting him, even though he's doing what he's supposed to do as a man, then you're the bitch in the relationship, and he should leave you. He should just leave you behind, because you don't know how to react properly to a man who is actually doing what men are supposed to do in relationships. Okay? Feminism has taught you that men are to treat you like a queen and a princess and hold you in such high esteem. And it also tells you that in order to get that, you have to be firm and stand strong, and he's gonna respect you, and that's all wrong. That's all backwards. If you want a man to treat you like a princess and a queen and put you on a pedestal and do all of that stuff, men will do that under one condition. You got to be submitting. You have to be a compliant, helpful, supportive, loving woman to him. If men had been watching my husband about 90% of our interactions, maybe more, they would have accused him of being a simp. He's simping up after her. He's simping up after Kendra. He's simping. They would have accused him of it because he was so yielding to me and accommodating to me. He treated me sweetly, softly, gently, most of the time. Now, I tell little stories of him being a savage, but he was kind of a savage. But overall, his treatment of me and his interactions with me were not rigid. They were not callous at all. But there was a reason that he was doing that. The reason that he was being gentle and accommodating and trying to see what he could do to make me happy or what have you was because I was submitting to him. I was not being obstinate with him. I was not being combative to him. Every time he turned around, there was not some sort of contention that he had to do or fight against me. He wasn't in a constant power struggle with who were the parents in the relationship and who had the power in the relationship and who was doing what. The roles were clear, they were defined, and I was sticking to them. And so was he. Now, there were flare-ups here and there because, you be with somebody that long, you're going to argue, you're going to blah, blah, blah. You're going to. Everything isn't some kind of smooth thing where there's never any problem and there's never any, there's never any contention or disagreement because that's not realistic. But overall, the vast majority of the time, there really was peace in the house. There really was times where I just swallowed it. I was mad or whatever, or whether I was justified in being mad or whether I was mad over something petty or whatever. Just get over it. Get over it. Support the man. Help him, Give him that soft landing. Give him the respect that is due to him. Just give him the respect that is due. I didn't call my husband out of his name. He wasn't, even in the heights of my anger, I didn't resort to, you just a bitch ass motherfucking nigga. But I didn't do that to him. That me hitting him in his shoulder, we was a couple of months into our marriage. That was in 1998. I did that. It was 2018. Literally 20 years ago. And so, I gave him the respect that was due to him. When he came through the door, I didn't have a fight for him. I didn't have an argument ready. Even if he had made me angry that morning or before he left or whatever, and I was still stewing on it, I just made it a point that, Don't let your husband come in and the first thing that he's greeted with is not Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. It's, well, where the fuck you been? Well, what is you doing? And, you know, don't do that to him. You don't know what he went through outside of there. All you know is before he left, y'all got into maybe a little tiff or something like that. It wasn't even that big of a deal. And, you know, you still butthurt over something he might have said, probably was true. And you know, you're still stewing on it. And you're still stewing on it for no reason. For no reason. And I just made it a point to not make him come to me and I'm a problem. I'm a problem that he has to deal with. I'm yet another problem that he has to contend with. You know, if it was something serious and I needed to talk to him about it and it wasn't going to be a pleasant conversation, still, I didn't greet him at the door with it. Here, come in, let the man come in first. Let him breathe a sigh of relief. Let him go to the bathroom. Let him put his coat down. Let him get something to eat. Let him relax a little bit. And he just might be more prone to listen to what you have to say. And don't be always calling yourself cussing him out. You don't have to curse him out just because you're trying to tell him something. Talk to him like a man, like you want him to talk to you like a woman. And he will listen to it. He'll take you under advisement. You know what I'm saying? He'll take you seriously. If you're not always complaining, if it's kind of rare that you complain, I guarantee you when you do complain, he gonna listen. Because she don't always do this. So it must be something serious happening that she's bringing me a complaint. So let me give her my undivided attention so that she can tell me what is happening. So that I can, I can address this with her. Because she's not the type of woman that's always got some shit going. So if she's pretty much kind of to herself and she don't really bother me about a lot of stuff, and she come to me and say, you know what, I need to talk to you. This is something serious. I kind of, I've been feeling this way, or this has been going on. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to listen to what she has to say. And I'm not going to be inclined to just tune her out because she always got something she want to tell me about some bullshit. Don't be the obstinate woman. This is why you can't get a man to treat you like a princess, and you have to kind of shame him into it, or you got to get a simp that's going to do it because he's so desperate to be with you that he'll do anything. Because you don't even like that dude. You just using him because he desperate and because you can just kind of do anything and get away with it. But the reality of that situation is you don't even respect that dude. Which is why you would cheat on him with a dude that'll do what Will Smith did. G-check your ass every time you fuck up. And you love the ground that nigga walk on. Girl, I just can't get enough of that nigga. It ain't always just the sex. It's because he don't take your bullshit. And you know that if you keep it up, you'll be by yourself. And he'll find him somebody else to be with that will get in line. It's part of our nature, ladies. I hope y'all stop. Y'all gonna have to stop fighting that. If y'all want y'all men to treat you of a certain type of respect and a certain type of, just, man, I really love that woman and I will really kind of go out of my way to make sure she's good, like I'll go out of my way to do this. The men have to be inspired to do stuff. Men have to be inspired to do stuff. And a lot of times they're inspired by women. But we have to inspire them the right way. Because if we are rigid and unyielding and unaccommodating, then they will be rigid and unyielding and unaccommodating. But if you are softer, a little bit more vulnerable, you yield, you accommodate, you mold, you compromise, then they will be more inclined to compromise, to yield, to have mercy, to have, compassion, to compromise. They'll be more ready to do that. You can get treated like I got treated like a queen and by a savage. My husband wasn't no joke. People on the outside looking in thought I ran the relationship. I patently declared that I did not run that relationship. I did not. And I have a very forward personality. I always have had it. But I didn't run that relationship. I can tell you that. He ran the relationship. But I was acting accordingly. And that made him be accommodating to me. He would defer to me. Well, what do you want? What can I do for you? Because I was always trying to figure out what I was going to do for him. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, nigga. Ask not what your man can do for you, but what you can do for your man. And he will return the favor. Only a complete asshole of the highest degree of assholery will not return that. And you probably got to leave that nigga alone. Because he don't know nothing about reciprocity. But if you're doing what you're supposed to do and your man does it, there's no reason for the marriage to work. And there's no reason for him to treat you, to mistreat you. If you're doing what you're supposed to do as a woman, what cause does he have to mistreat you? He doesn't have any. He doesn't have any cause. He'll be totally out of pocket, completely out of pocket, and everybody will be able to see it. You won't have to play like a victim, like he's doing something to you. It'll be so obvious that you're doing what you're supposed to do and he's not. You know what I'm saying? So you can get the queen treatment. It's not that Disney shit. It's still not that Disney shit you think it is, though. But you can get that high a level of respect and esteem and all of that you want. You can't get nothing worth having is free. You got to give something to get something. You got to bring ass to get ass. You cannot expect something to get into your hand, but you keep your fist closed. You have to give something in order to get something. And you want that level of devotion. You want that level of respect and treatment. You got to give something. And that thing that you give is your submissiveness to him. And you hate it. You hate that word. You hate the very fact of that biology and that evolution that we've done. And you have allowed yourself to be programmed into believing that submission equals weakness because it makes you feel better. But you don't gotta feel better. What'll really make you feel better is actually getting comfortable in that role, putting those shoes on and getting comfortable in those shoes. Because I lived it. And men do not, their first inclination is not to disrespect that kind of woman. Their first inclination is not to mistreat that kind of woman. Oh, she's submissive and she's supportive and she's nice to me and she's responsive and she is accommodating and she is cooperating. Oh, let me fuck her over. That's not really the general response to that. Oh, she's a good one. You know, like I said, only the king assholes will see a good woman and be like, yeah, let me fuck her over. I'm gonna fuck her over. Yeah, I know she's good to me, but I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna do what the fuck I want. I'm gonna fuck this bitch up. I'm gonna see, can I break her? You see if how nice she really is. I'm gonna see, can I just break that bitch? It's only a few dudes that really want to do that. Most dudes want that kind of woman and will be more than happy to treat that woman with respect and kindness and love. He'd be more than happy to do that because he's getting what he wants out of her. He's getting what he wants. He's getting what he needs out of having a woman around. Believe it or not, they don't just want sex. They do want your feminine energy, but the key to that is you actually have to have feminine energy to give. That's what he can't get. The sex he can get anywhere. The feminine energy is rare. So be the one to give that to him. Don't just be the one to fuck him. It's a bunch of bitches ready to fuck him. Be the one that's giving him that other part. The part he's really missing. The part he really wants. And then you'll see the behavior of that man towards you. All right. This was long. I talked to y'all a long time. That's why I ain't say it's going to be short and sweet, because I knew it wasn't going to be short. Ha ha ha. I don't always say it, right? Okay. Well, I will talk to you guys later. And I'm out.